Welcome to the channel. I have a terrifying story from the post-war years of 1947. Summer of 1947. The world was recovering from the Second World War. Sea routes were coming back to life. Hundreds of ships carried goods through the Strait of Malacca, a narrow and perilous artery connecting the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. This strait had always been known for its dual nature. On one hand, wealth and life, spices, oil, textiles, grain, everything passed through it. On the other hand, an ancient curse. For centuries, the waters here had swallowed ships. Pirates, typhoons, reefs, everything seemed to be against man. And yet, sailors kept risking their lives. But none of them could have imagined the nightmare that lurked in these waters in the summer of 1947. The Strait of Malacca boiled with life, ships followed one another, the sun scorching so fiercely that the deck planks burned underfoot. The air shimmered with heat, in the shade, it was nearly 40 degrees Celsius. And in this endless heat, a chilling sound suddenly pierced the air, an SOS signal. The Indian Ocean sparkled under the blazing sun. Waves rolled rhythmically, and the air trembled from the heat. The temperature soared to 40 degrees. In the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest routes on the planet, hundreds of ships daily carried goods, connecting east and west. The place always teemed with life, noise, movement. But here, silence cut through the air for the first time. Morse code crackled on the frequency. A dying voice was heard. At first, broken, as if the radio operator's hand trembled. Then, words that made blood run cold. Captain and officers are dead. Likely, the entire crew is dead. Then a pause. And the final message, I am dying. After that, silence. No coordinates, no explanations. Only emptiness. For experienced radio operators, it was like an icy knife through the heart. They were used to storm warnings, accidents, even cries for help. But this, never. The words sounded too cold, too doomed. The coastal services of the Netherlands and Britain tried to trace the source. Radio waves jumped and trembled, but they managed to determine an approximate location, the open waters of the Indian Ocean. The nearest ship was the American cargo vessel Silver Star. Its captain, a hardened sea wolf, did not hesitate, we're going there. The crew knew the content of the signal. Fear settled into their hearts. But the sailors understood, the law of the sea was unyielding, if someone calls for help, you must respond. The captain listened silently as the signal was recounted. His officers exchanged glances, fear clearly etched on their faces. But the law of the sea was clear, a call for help could not be ignored. The captain said, we're going to it. Some sailors shivered. One whispered to another. What if there's an epidemic? Or something worse? But no one argued. After several hours, a silhouette appeared through the haze. A massive hull, dark and motionless. No signal, no movement. The Silver Star approached slowly. The sailors peered at the deck of the Ourang Medan. A terrifying silence reigned. Not a single human being. Only the creak of masts and the slap of waves. It's dead, muttered one. Don't say that, the captain snapped sharply. Hours passed in the shimmering heat of the day. The dark hull, the masts, the motionless deck, it was Ourang Medan. The ship drifted slowly, as if soulless, carried by the waves. No signal, no greeting, no one on deck. Silence. Only the wind and the cries of gulls. When the Silver Star drew closer, the captain and officers stood on deck, binoculars raised. Everyone understood, something was wrong ahead. But no one was prepared for what awaited them inside. Several sailors, armed only with flashlights and ropes, climbed aboard the Ourang Medan. Boats were lowered into the water. At first, silence. Hollow, deathly, as if the very air had refused to live. The sailors exchanged uneasy glances. One, a very young man, clutched a cross at his chest. Another whispered, "I don't want to go further." But orders were orders. They stepped forward. And then the first discovery. A sailor's body. Eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent scream. The sailors recoiled. One cursed and nearly dropped his flashlight. Inside, each felt as if a cold hand of death had gripped their throats. More bodies followed. In the cabins, on the deck, by the stairways. The horror thickened. It seemed the walls themselves whispered that something inhuman had occurred here. One of the rescuers later admitted, "I felt as if we had entered the realm of the dead." There was no life. Only eyes staring into nothingness. The rescuers prepared to board. Every step echoed ominously. They sensed, something was wrong. A strange cold hung in the air, if the breath of death had brushed against their skin. The first body lay on the deck. A sailor with eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent scream, hands stretched as if pushing away an invisible force. Then more. And more. In the engine room, engineers frozen at their stations. In the captain's cabin, the captain, his face twisted in horror. Even the dog. Its jaws frozen in a snarl, for bristling, as if it had fought to the very last. And finally, the radio room. The radio operator. His hand still rested on the telegraph key. He was the very voice that had sent those desperate words into the air. When they reached the radio room and saw the operator, everything fell into place. This was the voice they had heard. This was the hand that had tapped the telegraph key while dying. The young sailor could not bear it, he vomited on the deck. Another began crossing himself. But the captain of the Silver Star remained resolute. He declared, "We must tow this ship. At least something from it must return to the living." Yet the ocean had other plans. What struck everyone most was the temperature. Outside, 40 degrees of relentless heat. The sun blazed mercilessly. Inside the ship, a chilling cold, penetrating to the bone. In some compartments, it was barely 4 degrees Celsius. It was as if the ocean itself had sucked the warmth from the vessel, leaving only death and emptiness. The Silver Star's captain ordered, "Begin towing. Perhaps some evidence could be saved." The ropes tightened. The ship began to move. And then, from the fourth hold, thick smoke started to pour. Minutes later, a terrible explosion. A pillar of fire shot into the sky. Ourang Medan seemed to leap from the water, split apart, and sink into the abyss. Everything was over. All its mysteries, drowned with it. So, what really happened? Perhaps it was a chemical cargo. One theory suggests the hold carried cyanide or tabun, a chemical weapon from the war. A gas leak could have killed the crew, and contact with seawater might have triggered the explosion. Or was it a secret experiment? Some believe the ship was involved in classified projects, similar to the Philadelphia experiment. Or maybe a supernatural phenomenon. Sailors whisper of curses, ghosts, forces that cannot tolerate human presence. Or simply a maritime legend. Skeptics argue, the ship never existed. There's no record of Ourang Medan in any registry. Yet the fact remains, in 1952, the U.S. Coast Guard officially mentioned the case. More than 70 years have passed. No expedition has ever found a trace of the ship. Not a single piece of evidence, only eyewitness accounts and reports. Yet the story lives on in the maritime world. Radio operators pass it down to newcomers, sailors tell it in their cabins. And every time, in the darkness, someone recalls. All officers are dead. I am dying. Somewhere in the depths of the ocean, beneath layers of water, perhaps lies the broken hull of Ourang Medan. And with it, a mystery it took with it. What killed the crew? Chemicals? A conspiracy? Or something we may never understand? Perhaps the answer lies in the black water, at the bottom, where there is no light. Or maybe the ocean itself made sure we would never know the truth. But one thing is certain, the story of Ourang Medan does not let go. It returns again and again, reminding us that the ocean is not only a highway and a source of life. It is also an eternal abyss, home to secrets mankind can never unravel. The mystery, vanished into the depths. The crew of Silver Star took a long time to recover. People whispered. We shouldn't have gone on board. It would have been better if it had stayed in the abyss. The official reports were dry, perhaps a dangerous cargo was being transported. Maybe gas, maybe weapons. But in the eyes of those who saw the faces of the dead sailors, another truth lived, there was something there they could not explain. Some swore they heard a quiet whisper in the radio room, not belonging to the operator. Others claimed that on the deck of Ourang Medan, there was a presence, as if someone was watching from the shadows. When Silver Star returned to port, the sailors remained silent for a long time. The official reports were concise, emotionless. But the sailors, they spoke. And as time passed, the story grew with new details. A young sailor from Silver Star, many years later, admitted. When we left, I felt a cold in my chest all the time. As if part of that horror had clung to me. Sometimes at night, I dream of his voice, I am dying. Local fishermen quickly picked up the legend. In coastal villages, whispers began, a ghost has appeared in the strait. The elders insisted, this was not the first time. Ships had vanished in these waters before. Some were found empty, without a crew. Others sank for no reason. Malay tales spoke of the guardians of the sea, spirits who punish those who carry forbidden cargo across the ocean. And sailors began to whisper, Ourang Medan broke the oath. That is why it was taken. Other rumors circulated. After World War II, the ocean was full of secret shipments. It was said that Ourang Medan carried crates of chemical weapons left over from the Nazis. Some claimed that captured scientists were being transported secretly. In every version, people died the same way, without blood, without struggle, but with terror frozen on their faces. Sailors asked. If it was gas, why did the dog die the same way, snarling? And why was the air inside the ship so icy? Gas doesn't bring cold. Every conversation ended in silence. No explanation could be found. Later, stories emerged that the ghost of Ourang Medan had been seen again. Captains of some ships swore that sometimes the silhouette of the old ship appeared on the horizon. It moved without lights and suddenly vanished like smoke. One Malay fisherman said, "At night, we saw the ship. It sailed beside us, quiet as a shadow. Then a wave covered it, and it disappeared. Only the cold remained in the air." These words spread through the ports. Since then, sailors feared these waters. They said, "Where Ourang Medan died, the sea shows no mercy." Whenever a storm capsized a ship or people vanished in the strait, the rumors returned. It's the curse of Medan. The souls of the dead seek peace. The ocean keeps its secrets and punishes anyone who dares play with the forbidden. More than 70 years have passed. Ourang Medan has never been found. Yet sailors still tell the story to newcomers, in the cabins, at night, when the wind howls and the ship groans. And a chill runs down the spine. Because somewhere in the ocean, in the abyss, the ship may still lie, full of dead eyes, waiting for those who dare uncover its secret. Decades have passed. Our world has changed. New ships, satellites, technology have appeared. Yet Ourang Medan has never been found. Some say the ocean itself hid it so that no one would break its secret. Others claim the ship still wanders, ghostly, on the waves, appearing only to those fated to see it. And if at night, in the holds of your ship, it suddenly grows cold, if the radio operator hears a strange whisper on the airwaves, sailors advise not to answer. Because it may be a call from the past. We will never know the whole truth. Ourang Medan is forever lost in the depths of the Indian Ocean. But the legend lives on, a story of a ghost ship, a cry of despair over the radio, and a mystery that has fascinated and terrified for more than 70 years.